You know what the ancient Stoics would say about our modern obsession with always being out there, always hustling, always on the move? They'd tell us we're missing the entire point. While everyone's posting their exotic vacations and endless social calendars, the wisest minds in history were doing something radically different. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, wrote his most profound thoughts alone in his tent. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men of his time, found his greatest peace at home. Today I'm going to share why staying home might be the most powerful thing you can do for your mind, your growth, and your happiness. And no, this isn't about becoming a hermit. This is about reclaiming something we've completely lost in the modern world. Let me ask you something honest. When was the last time you spent a full day at home without feeling guilty? Without that nagging voice telling you you're wasting your life, missing out, or being lazy? We live in a culture that glorifies constant motion. Hustle culture tells us to network more, travel more, experience more. Social media shows us everyone else's highlight reel, making our quiet moments feel inadequate. But here's what the Stoics understood 2,000 years ago that we're only now rediscovering. The quality of your external life can never exceed the quality of your internal life. We're going to explore 5 profound Stoic principles that reveal why your home isn't a prison, it's your training ground. We'll look at what Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca actually practiced, and how you can apply these timeless lessons to find more peace, clarity, and purpose right where you are. Stick around until the end because I'll share a simple Stoic practice you can start today that will completely transform how you view your time at home. Section 1. The Inner Fortress. The Stoics had this concept they called the inner citadel, or inner fortress. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Think about that. The Emperor of Rome, who could go literally anywhere in the known world, said the best place to retreat was within himself. Here's what this means for us. Your home is where you build your inner fortress. It's where you strengthen your mind, clarify your values, and develop the resilience to handle whatever life throws at you. When you're constantly out there, constantly stimulated, constantly distracted, you never do the deep work required to build mental strength. Epictetus, who started life as a slave, taught that true freedom doesn't come from changing your circumstances. It comes from changing your relationship with your circumstances. Every moment you spend at home in purposeful solitude is a moment you're investing in the only thing you truly control, your own mind. The modern world keeps you weak by keeping you distracted. Staying home with intention makes you strong. But here's the key, this isn't about avoidance. The Stoics weren't hiding from life. They were preparing for it. Marcus Aurelius would spend time in contemplation before making decisions that affected millions. That quiet time at home made him a better leader when he stepped outside. Section 2. Escaping the Comparison Trap. Seneca wrote one of the most powerful lines in Stoic philosophy. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Let's be real for a second. How much of your desire to always be out there comes from genuine joy? And how much comes from fear of missing out? From needing to prove something? From comparing yourself to others? When you're constantly in social situations, constantly consuming other people's experiences, you're playing an unwinnable game. There will always be someone with a better vacation, a bigger house, more friends, more experiences. The Stoics taught that comparison is a form of self-torture. And you know what? Your home is the antidote. When you spend quality time at home, you stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You start appreciating what's actually in front of you. That morning coffee tastes better when you're not scrolling through someone's Bali vacation. That conversation with family becomes more meaningful when you're fully present instead of thinking about where you should be. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Your home teaches you this lesson daily. The simple pleasures: reading a good book, cooking a meal, watching the sunset. Through your window, these become treasures when you stop measuring your life against others. This is freedom. Not the freedom to go everywhere and do everything, but the freedom to be content wherever you are. Section 3. The Power of Solitude. Now here's something that might surprise you. Every great Stoic philosopher actively sought solitude. Not because they hated people, but because they understood something crucial about personal growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But here's the thing: you can't improve the quality of your thoughts when you're constantly surrounded by noise, opinions, and distractions. Staying home gives you something incredibly rare in our modern world: uninterrupted time with your own mind. This is where self-awareness develops. This is where you question your assumptions, challenge your beliefs, and actually grow as a person. Seneca spent years in exile, and you know what he said about it? That it gave him the time to truly understand himself and develop his philosophy. He turned isolation into insight. Think about every major breakthrough you've had in your life. I'm willing to bet it didn't happen at a crowded party or during your commute. It happened in a quiet moment, when your mind finally had space to work through complex problems. Your home is where transformation happens. It's where you process your experiences instead of constantly seeking new ones. Develop your own thoughts instead of just consuming others. Build skills that matter instead of just appearing busy. Connect with who you actually are instead of who you think you should be. The Stoics believe that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Solitude at home is where you confront those imaginary fears and realize they have no power over you. Section 4. Intentional living. Here's where Stoicism gets really practical. Marcus Aurelius had a morning routine where he'd remind himself of Stoic principles. Before starting his day as emperor, he asked himself, "What am I going to do today that matters?" When you're always rushing from place to place, obligation to obligation, you're living reactively. You're living everyone else's agenda for your life. Staying home allows you to live proactively. You design your days instead of just surviving them. Seneca wrote extensively about the value of time. He said most people waste their lives without even realizing it because they're not intentional about how they spend their hours. He called it being stingy with money but wasteful with time. At home, you can create morning and evening routines that ground you in Stoic principles. Study topics that actually interest you, not what you should know. Practice skills without the pressure of performance. Build genuine connections with family instead of surface-level socializing. Work on projects that align with your values. The Stoics taught that virtue is the only true good. And virtue isn't built at parties or networking events. It's built in daily practice, in small decisions, in consistent action. Every day you spend at home with intention is a day you're building the life you actually want, not the life Instagram tells you to want. Here's a powerful question Epictetus would ask. Is this essential? When you apply this filter to how you spend your time, suddenly staying home becomes less about missing out and more about protecting what truly matters. Section 5. The Paradox of Less. Now we arrive at the beautiful paradox at the heart of Stoicism. By doing less, you gain more. By going nowhere, you arrive everywhere. By staying home, you discover the entire world within yourself. Marcus Aurelius, who commanded armies and governed an empire, wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself and your way of thinking." Modern culture is built on the opposite premise. more activities, more experiences, more consumption that's supposed to equal more happiness. But we're collectively more anxious, more depressed, and more lost than ever. The Stoics knew better. They practiced what we might call voluntary simplicity or negative visualization. They'd imagine losing everything to appreciate what they had. They'd deliberately live simply to prove they didn't need luxury. When you embrace staying home, you're conducting this same experiment. You're testing the premise that you need constant stimulation, endless novelty, and external validation to be happy. And here's what you discover. You don't. You discover that peace comes from within, not from your zip code. Growth happens in quiet moments, not just adventures. Contentment is a skill you practice, not a destination you reach. Your worth isn't measured by your social calendar. The deepest joys are often the simplest ones. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor. Your home teaches you abundance in the midst of simplicity. So here's your challenge, inspired by the ancient Stoics. For the next 7 days, I want you to try what I call the Stoic home practice. Each day, spend 10 minutes in the morning asking yourself, what would make today meaningful? Write it down. Dedicate at least 1 hour to focused solitude, no phone, no distractions. Use this time for reading, thinking, creating, or simply being. In the evening, practice Marcus Aurelius's reflection. What did I do today that aligned with my values? What could I do better tomorrow? No fancy tools needed. No expensive courses. Just you, your home, and your commitment to inner growth. After 7 days, I promise you'll see your home differently. You'll see yourself differently. If you try this practice, drop a comment below and let me know how it goes. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear about your experience. And if you found value in this video, do me a favor, share it with one person who needs this message. Someone who's caught in the hustle culture trap. Someone who's forgotten that real growth happens from the inside out.